Nigeria's main opposition, the People's Democratic Party, is charging to return to the country's top seat 8 years after losing the position to the current ruling party, the All Progressives Congress. Now, with the current president, Muhammadu Buhari, not on the ballot for 2023, the PDP fancies its chances of ruling Nigeria again as various names come up as aspirants. While some have been dubbed real contenders for the party's presidential ticket, others have been regarded as mere pretenders, and the politics leading up to the party's primary elections has been intense. A former Senate president, a former vice president, a current and a former state governor, a former secretary to the government of the Federation, the aspirants vying for PDP's ticket are political gladiators, but only one of them will get the nod. Zoning or no zoning, south or north, the issues are generating debates on VSA Today. We'll look at what party stalwarts think about their chances and how they can perform optimally. Welcome to VSA. I'm Sulaiman. Well, the PDP lost the presidential seat in 2015 and has splayed opposition in the last 8 years. The 2023 elections is viewed once again as a fair field and a level playing ground for all, with as many as 15 party members throwing their hearts in the ring for the top prize. Atiku Abubakar, Bukola Saraki, Peter Obi, Ayo Fayose, Ayim Pius Ayim, Nyesom Wike, and a host of others are all vying to get the party's sole ticket. Now, some of these aspirants are pushing for a consensus candidate to have a united front from the party and charge to retake a seat it held for 16 years. Now, the presidential aspirants from the southeast are pushing to agree to support one of theirs for the ticket as the issue of zoning becomes a weighty debate. Now, joining me to look at these are members of the People's Democratic Party, Kassim Afegbua and Ken Okolugbo. Gentlemen, good to see you both, and thanks for your time. And very quickly here, Kassim, let's start with you. You've been on this program, and you did say, well, we're likely to see more as we move. Your stance on the shift of what your party should be looking into still very much in the space. Now, the PDP is pushing to return to power. Does the party have what it takes?
Well, thank you, Suleiman, and happy Ramadan.
I wish you see,
the point is that the PDP is an organic party. It is the only party now that seems to resonate hope for the many millions of hopeless Nigerians who have been battered by poor governmental policies occasioned by the All Progressive Congress and its power apparatchik. The PDP, if they are able to put their house together, they get their acts together, will be able to present to Nigerians a southern presidential candidate that will represent the party in 2023 elections. I use the word, a southern presidential candidate, bearing in mind that the party, has featured, a northern presidential candidate in 2019, and it is natural that the candidate should come to the south this time around. And so for me, as an individual and a member of the party, I have been agitating for a candidate of southern extraction, to put pay to cries of marginalization, cries of exclusion, and sense of belongingness, and to build some level of homogeneity.
Well, there's just a glitch there. But again, let me jump to Ken before I come back to Kassim Afegbua, who's telling us about the principle of political inclusion in the PDP's, quest to return to power. Ken, you've heard Kassim. Does this also resonate with your thinking in your party?
Yes, this truth about this, Sulaiman Aledeh, is that what has happened in the APC has given the PDP no other choice but to make sure to put their house in order. That's my party. Now, putting your house in order will make sure that first we were able to reach a compromise as regards to what we're going to do the presidency to. Be as it is, which was a bit disappointing because the APC has been able to tell us that they want the candidate of the party to come from the southern zone, which would mean the southwest, the south-south, and the southeast. The PDP was not able to achieve that. The advantage we come on this platform is that the APC, no matter who they're presenting, either Shibajo, either Amechi, either Tinubu, either Richard Okorocha, whoever they're presenting on their scorecard will not be able to stand the test of time because the APC has performed woefully in terms of the economy, in terms of security, and in terms of corruption, which was the mantra with which they came into power in 2015. So it is for us in the PDP to ensure that we present a candidate that will be able to resonate, like you rightly said, with Nigerians.
Well, Kassim is back. I'll let him complete his train of thought on that because he started off by talking about some form of political inclusion in the PDP, talking about a marginalized group of persons in the Nigerian space. Kassim, good to have you back.
Well, thank you, Sulaiman. I think Ken Okolugbo has helped me essentially to put the issues to rest. The point is, the only thing I want Ken to add to it, in every of our discourse, we must continue to insist that it is the turn of the South within the PDP to present a candidate so that the candidate will square up with the APC candidate. After 8 years of President Buhari, which will terminate next year, 2023, it is only natural that power rotates to the South. The present effort by some chieftains of the party, some, formidable aspirants from the North who are trying to build a consensus around themselves is a deliberate attempt to, alter the apple cart, alter the arrangement that has sustained PDP for some time now. If you look back in 2019, there was no presidential aspirant from the South. The under was that the North should be given the consideration to feature a candidate of Northern extraction, which was what happened in Port Harcourt at the Port Harcourt Convention. And when he emerged, the party rallied around him. And if you look at what obtains at the election, you discover that about 70% of those votes were from the South. So it is natural that the South be given the opportunity this time to present its own candidate. That is the only way to promote equity, fairness, and justice.
Before I go to Ken, let's stay with you for a bit, Kassim. How does this resonate, gauging the population, of influential members in your party? How does this, suggestion or this drive, resonate with the bulk percentage of your party members?
You see, it is not about suggestion. It is a requirement in the Constitution of the PDP, Article 7, which speaks to issue of rotation between North and South in presidential positions. So the party will only be doing its constitutional bidding if the power is ceded to the South, or the candidate, not from the South. We are not asking for too much in the South. We are saying that in a plural society like Nigeria, with over 470 ethnic configurations, with the concept of amalgamation of the Northern and Southern Protectorate in 1914, with the political dynamics and the delicate logic of the Nigerian Federation, it's only natural that when you are balancing all your algorithms of power, you look at the various geopolitical zones. And if in 2019 the opportunity was given to the northern zones to present a candidate or aspirant, as it were, it's only natural that in 2023 the opportunity be given to the south. That's the only way you can balance the algorithms. Otherwise, you'll be robbing Peter to pay Paul by championing very debased sentiments of saying, oh, they have the figures, they have the demographics and all of that. I am not going to be persuaded by that because I studied the outcome of the 2019 election and I saw very clearly that a lot of voters turn out was from the southern part of the country for the PDP. The APC is very strong in the north, no doubt about that. But it is the turn of the south to present a candidate, and we choose a vice presidential candidate from the north that will confront the APC candidate from the south and the vice presidential candidate from the north. Nigerians will be given an opportunity to choose from these candidates. And just like I said earlier, the PDP has so much to campaign with because the APC has failed woefully. Anybody walking on the street now, if you ask them, they will tell you APC has not done well. They've done badly. They've crippled the country, economy, dislocations, impoverishment, hunger, poverty, and all of this. So please, this issue of zoning is very delicate, and I keep saying it, and I will keep saying it. The PDP must not try to be clever by half. They must wake up and follow the dictates of its constitution. Article 7 is clearly written there. If someone goes to court, if you don't respect zoning, somebody goes to court, they can use that against the outcome of the party primaries.
Let me bring in Ken quickly here. Ken, going by people who have signified interest to run, for office in your party, are you confident that your party has enough aspirants worthy enough, to bring your party back on the saddle?
Well, certainly I'm confident. First of all, you must have to look at it from two perspectives. We have the quota system, the Constitution. And why we have the quota system is because we recognize the fact that we're a country with diverse ethnic nationalities. And so we have to, like you rightly said in one of your intros, we have to make the areas which are the minorities, which we consider as endangered, give them a sense of belonging. Now, what is happening right here now is that some people in the PDP have tried to play the card that if you look at the PDP presidential candidates who emerged as president, the South has had 14 years and the North has had only about 2 years because they're looking at the time of Obasanjo and the time of Jonathan. But realistically speaking, Buhari is the president of everybody. He's the president of the APC and he's the president of PDP. And so naturally you will say that, well, maybe the North from 1999 till date have a deficit of 2 years if you eventually add the 8 years of Buhari. But even if you look at it from that perspective, we expect that the southern part of Nigeria should be given a fair chance at this point. You have someone like Payozanyim, who is coming from the southeast. You have someone like Peter Obi, who is coming from the southeast. You have someone like Nyesom Wike, who is coming from the south-south. And you have someone like Emmanuel Udom, who is coming from the south-south. I'm looking at those who are very strong in terms of structures. Looking at those 4 people, even my governor, Kowa, has been touted that he will throw his hat also into the ring. But looking at those 4 people who have indicated their interest and only indicated their interest are consulting already, you agree with me that they come with a whole lot of credentials that can win this election in 2023. Wike has done so well in Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt is a construction site. Emmanuel Udom has raised back from where you have Akpabio, who tends to be the uncommon governor. Nobody thought Emmanuel Udom would have been able to fit into his shoes. But he has raised the bar. Payozanyim comes with a huge wealth of experience, having been the secretary to government and the Senate president. And you also have Peter B, who has been a two-time governor and has been a vice presidential candidate. So looking at it, Sulaiman Aledeh, I believe that the array of presidential candidates that we are presenting now, aspirants that are presenting now, will give us an advantage. And that is why we must put our house in order to be able to focus on the South, in my own opinion, in terms of getting who wears the crown. Because the APC is a party that is essentially going to implode. The forces against them each other in the APC is a whole lot more than you can find in the PDP, which has stabilized itself since October, where the convention took place and the National Working Committee actually settled down to work, even before they were sworn in December 2021. So the ball is in our court, actually, if you ask me. So it's for us to put our house in order.
So quickly here, before I go to Kassim, I'll stay with you for a bit, Ken. Now, listening to your analysis, is it safe to say you have narrowed it into the southeast? Talking about south, now you have just pushed it to the southeast. Yes,
why I said that is, well, I haven't actually narrowed it, but fair is fair. And the southeast has never gotten the presidency. But, you know, I actually always describe Goodluck Jonathan as an accidental president. Goodluck Jonathan never wished to be a president. He was an accidental president. So for Wike and Imayoludom, this is the first time we have a South-South presidential aspirant jostling to become the president of this country. We know Fayose has come from the Southwest, but that's a late entrance into the scheme of things. While I might not dwell on Ayo Fayose, I would rather dwell on Payosanyim, Peter Obi, Imayoludom, and Nyesom Wike. Any of them can take the ticket. That's what I think.
Okay, now let's go to you, Kassim. And, you know, the Southeast is pushing to have their consensus candidate for the election. And there is Nyesom Wike also in the running. How important will this decision be to the chances of that region?
Well, for me, the issue of consensus, you know, has to be total. It has to be all embracing. It has to be all accommodating, all encompassing, so that it doesn't appear as if it is a conspiracy. You see some aspirants from the North who are championing the cause of consensus, but when you look at the fray, them from the Northern axis who are running against the run of play, also asking for consensus arrangement within and amongst themselves, only reaching out to other aspirants in order to just by way of information. To me, I don't see that as a healthy consensus process. Consensus in democracy is a robust platform where people trade in and where you can come up with some kind of power sharing arrangement. Some persons may drop their aspiration to allow one of their own to represent the collective interest. But in this case, I've not seen that. Any northern aspirant in PDP who is championing to present himself for election in 2023 or May PDP primaries is not being fair to the sentiments and the collective wishes and aspirations of the southern axis of the country.
Let me jump in here. Let me jump in here specifically. Sorry, Kassim, sorry to butt in, because Atiku Abubakar is in the running again. And you told me on this show that his candidacy should not be encouraged by the party. Are you still holding on to this position, Kassim?
I'm sure you read my piece yesterday when I wrote about Atiku and what I call rankadede politics. You know, when you see the youths in the north, beggars, almajiris and all that, hailing and championing and hailing people and all of that. How much of impact has an Alhaji Atiku Abubakar given to the Holoi Poloi, the masses of the north, you know, as a way of, you know, giving back to a society that nurtured him? I was trying to interrogate the personalities we're talking about. Atiku Abubakar, others. How many of them can be late Saddam Ahmadu Bello, whose objective was that of the state and not of self, who was able to put a lot of development on ground in the northern part of the country as a premier, and whose children you will never hear of since his exit from Nigeria's political landscape. The same thing goes to Malam Aminu Kano. This was one man who was pro-Marxist, who died for a cause, and whose children you never can hear of because they didn't live with riches, they didn't own private jets, they didn't collect patrimony of the positions they had to themselves. They rather developed and expended money. And so when they die, you hardly can hear anything about it, like their children picking up their pieces to see how they can cope in a volatile Nigerian political landscape. The same thing goes for Tafawa Balewa. Very intelligent, articulate leader we had premier in pre-independence, post-independence Nigeria. And how many of Tafawa Balewa children are you seeing gallivanting all over the place? So my position is that a man like Alhaji Atiku Abubakar at age 77, with fatigue bones and mental debilitation, ought to sit back and give some level of backing and support to the younger elements in PDP and play the role of an elder statesman. In fact, I have gone a step further to recommend for him to be the chairman board of trustees of the party, so that he can jealously guide the younger ones to take over, elected positions at the presidential level and at other levels, instead of displaying this sense of entitlement as if the ticket of the party has been reserved for him. So I have my concerns. In 2019, he represented the party. He ran away to Dubai when the elections were just over. He didn't wait to prosecute his tribunal case, and I pick holes in that because I want leaders that can chest out to collect bullets on our behalf and not necessarily escaping when they hear the sound of a knockout. So for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, I don't think we should be discussing that. For any northern aspirant at all, for that matter, I don't think we should be discussing that. The PDP, if it's an organic party, if it's a party that respects due process, rules and regulations, and provision of its constitution, must adhere strictly to the provisions of Article 7, subsection 3C, as captured in 1999. And it was in realization of this particular provision that made Obasanjo, former president, to support Yar'Adua in 2007, even though it was obvious that Dr. Peter Odili was coasting home to victory, so to speak. And let me correct this. The idea that, in PDP, we have only had 2 years of Yar'Adua is not true. Yar'Adua spent 3 years. He died May 3rd, 2010. President Goodluck Jonathan, completed the remaining 1 year and did another 4 years, making 5 years, plus 8 years of Obasanjo, making 13 years. The North will be doing 11 years. At any rate, Nigeria is not a creation of 1999. Nigeria is a creation of 1960 at independence, 2 years old now. And out of the 62 years, we are for 48 solid years. So the idea of even asking and talking about marginalization or not being represented and all of that does not arise at all.
Well, anyway, owing to the glitches, I think we'll skip the break. Let's go straight to Ken, who is in Delta State in the southern part of Nigeria. Ken, you've heard Kassim, and he read out some names, especially in Nigeria's First Republic and Second Republic, Malam Aminu Kano, Tafawa Balewa, the Sardana. And that brings us to the caliber of persons. Looks like, I lost Ken there, so I'll come back to you, Kassim, now. It takes us to what your party is looking for in a candidate, because some of the attributes and traits which you mentioned about the old politicians, especially from the North, would mean that there are some key elements that the PDP is looking for in any of its chosen candidate. You want to help us point out some of those key elements?
Well, thank you, Sulaiman. I want a Nigerian president who is from the southern part of the country, who will take the country as his constituency, who will not be detained by parochial interests, who will not be detained by nepotism, favoritism, cronyism, and selective amnesia that have become so dominant in an APC-led federal government. A Nigerian president that will see himself as representing the entire interest of the country, from the northern axis, from somebody in Gubbio in Borno State to the Sagbaman man in Bayelsa, from somebody in Vandekia in Benue to someone in Edo from Ekpoma. I want a Nigerian president who has the capacity to engage issues here, who has his hands on the jar of leadership. When issues happen, when challenges happen in security and all of that, I want a president that can go there, share in the aspirations of the people, give, a timeline on when A and B and C can be dispensed with. These ideas of sitting down in the villa and issuing condolence letters, condolence messages, mourning our dead day in, day out, should be a thing of the past. I want a president that is on the ground, that can chest out, that can enter the forest to challenge, the security apparatus, the military, the soldiers who are fighting, who are in the line of battle, to encourage them, to motivate them, so that they can take up a greater responsibility of nipping the crisis, the insecurity we have in the bud. Then I also want a Nigerian president who will be able to look inwards. I am asking questions every day that we need to look inwards to the resources we generate in this country, rather than borrowing for consumption, or even borrowing to pay salaries, which has been the bane of the APC-led federal government. And so all these essentials, all these credibility credentials are what I want to see in a Nigerian president. But the choice must be from the South, so that you can put pay to the injustices of domination, of skewed political arrangement, and oppression that have become so dominant in the last 70 years.
Okay, I see Ken is back. Ken, good to have you back. And quickly here, this is to you, Ken. The politics that determine candidacy are quite deep and reaching. Beyond the presidency now, what are the considerations of your party, the PDP? Or what should your party be making in getting its candidates across the elections?
The truth about this is that as a good party man, no matter how strong I feel about the issue of zoning, the report of the zoning committee has been turned in. And at this material point in time, the zoning committee has hit a cul-de-sac. They have said they have opened up the issue of the presidential ticket to any zone of the country. Be as it may be that no matter how strong one's feeling is, it therefore means that it's an open contest, which I don't think, in my own opinion, would be very, very right in terms of going into the primaries at the end of May. And therefore, like you have said, what we now expect is that we're looking at the candidate that will not be carrying out the blame game like Buhari has done, because the candidate we're looking at is the one that will win the election. Saraki, Bala, and Tambuwal have said that they want to present a consensus, but for some reason we don't have Atiku Abubakar joining that consensus. So it will be interesting if the South is to produce a consensus, since they are sticking to themselves. The North produce a consensus and the South produces a consensus, and we have three of them going into the convention to battle for who becomes the candidate of the party. But like I have told you, the scorecard of the APC is so poor. Today, you recall that the death toll in Benue has risen to 24. We have seen the video of those who were abducted on the train attack from Abuja to Kaduna. And we have also seen a situation whereby the northern, for the first time, we are here in the area calling on their own to resign even before his tenure is up. So it's not us now in the PDP that has cast a vote of no confidence on the Buhari government. his own people have passed a vote of no confidence on him. And therefore, anybody that is going to come on the scorecard of Buhari, because he is still seen as the only factor that is holding the APC together, will now face a PDP candidate who will be coming without any baggage. The only thing you can hold against us is the time we're in power. But of course, when you compare the time we're in power and the last 8 years, which it would be that would have gone before we have gone through, whatever shortcomings we have had, which we actually apologize for, will make us look like saints. And so the fact remains that the candidate we'll be looking at now will be running a battle against someone who will come with a huge political deficit, an economic deficit, and other social deficits into the contest.
Let me take this to Kassim. You know, Kassim, of all the candidates, excuse me, of all the aspirants you've seen, who would you say possesses what you desire in a potential candidate? I'm saying, looking at all the aspirants you've seen so far in your party, who would you say possesses what you look out for in a potential candidate?
That question for me?
Yes, Kassim, yes.
Okay, you said what?
I think going by the list of aspirants you have in your party, who do you think possesses what you desire in a potential candidate for Nigerians?
Every human being is a political animal. I've been accused severally of persons sponsoring me to do all manners of talking that I've been doing. You know, in this part of the world, whether you are an adult or you are a young man, they won't want to give you the recognition that you are entitled to your opinion. Everything you do, they will say, oh, somebody is sponsoring you. So I've been accused variously and severally that I'm being sponsored by Nyesom Wike, the governor of Rivers State, even though I don't have a close relationship with him. In an interview I conducted yesterday, I told them, I said, please, they should get Nyesom Wike for me. I really want to know him closely. I want to work with him. I want to help to champion his aspiration. And because I am not one individual who pretends about scenarios and about issues in the polity. And whatever position I take, I'm always convinced about it before, I do some level of introspection, interrogation, before I take such positions. And once I take them, I don't look back. So a man like Nyesom Wike, for example, seeing him from afar, is one Nigerian who is very bold, who has guts, who is courageous, who can take the bullet for the masses, who can go into the forest and challenge situations. He's not going to lock himself inside the Aso Rock Villa if he becomes the president, for example, and be dishing out condolence messages. No. I trust that a man like him will go into the forest with our soldiers to say, look, gentlemen, we need to end this onslaught once and for all so that we can move forward. If there's no stability, if there's no security in place, if there's no due process, if there's no law reform, you can't do or you cannot attract foreign investment. And this idea of borrowing, it is because there's no productivity back here to earn the foreign income. So a man like Wike, for example, fits into my bill. Peter Obi is also another good candidate, a good aspirant. He's been preaching. The only aspect of him that I don't like is the idea of one man, one wristwatch, one man, one shoe. If you keep that economics, if you drag it further, you are likely going to close down wristwatch manufacturing companies in Nigeria if they exist, or shoe manufacturing companies in Nigeria if they exist. If it is only one piece of shoes or one pair of shoes that we are going to buy, or one pair of wristwatch and what have you. So I want this economic to take away from the conservative point of view to a more liberal economic prognosis that will help to stimulate enterprise, drive productivity, and create employment for a teeming majority of Nigerians, and help to reduce the staggering rate of unemployment, which today stands at 33%, job losses and what have you. So Peter Obi needs to tinker a little bit with his own personal philosophies, which may not necessarily equate to the national philosophies of Nigerians with respect to the situation we find ourselves and how to pull out of these doldrums.
You know, Nigeria's former president, General Ibrahim Babangida, who you also have, you know, a good relationship with, once said that Nigerians in the coming election should be looking at a young and vibrant, you know, candidate. But looking at some of those other names, we talked about Nigeria's former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar. He comes with a bag of political experience, especially in presidential elections, Kassim. Don't you think this may work in his favor this time if your party looks, you know, his way?
Sulaiman, please, I don't want this name to be featured in a political lexicon with respect to 2023. It offends my sensibilities hearing about a man of 77 in a dysfunctional country trying to come to the... What kind of political experience are you talking about? He doesn't have executive experience like any other governor or even a local government chairman. He has never been a governor. He has never run a local government or a state. He was only a vice president, which is just like an appendage of the president. Your functions are defined in the Constitution. You only preside over the economic worldview, so to speak. So for me, when people keep talking about this issue of experience, what kind of experience are we looking at here? He has been a perpetual aspirant from 1992 up to 1999, 2003, 2007, 2011, 2015. He left the PDP, he came back and he was given the ticket. When he left the PDP, he supported the APC to defeat the PDP in 2015. So even on ground of morality, he doesn't deserve to be considered for anything within the PDP. That's the truth. But because the party wants to rally around some of his founding members who left and they decided to come back, show some sign of penitence, and because of that, they allow them the opportunity to contest. You see this sense of entitlement that is becoming unbecoming, you know, on the part of the former vice president. And I've said it categorically clear that those who exited from PDP in 2015 and which led to the defeat of the PDP should naturally hide their face, having contested in 2019 and they are unable to pull the required string, and allow the side and some other persons who helped to sustain the PDP, who illuminated the PDP light when everybody thought the light had been extinguished. So I don't want all this kind of narrative. At 77, if I'm able to get to that age, I want to retire to my home and be in the comfort of my children and my grandchildren and be playing around with them in the house. And not be going around to say I want to be president of a country with all the kind of problems we're having here and there and all of that. We need vibrant young men. We need fresh brains. We need fresh thinking. We need, you know, idealistic mindsets. The people who can speak to the issues, who can interrogate issues, who can dissect issues. You know,
okay. Now let me bring in Ken here. Apologies.
No, let me finish this thought. We don't want leaders who they will use a boniki to rub their legs before they wake up in the morning. They will be using a boniki and all that. Please,
let me bring in Ken. Ken, well, quite an interesting conversation we're having here on the square today. I'd like you to pose the same question to you, Ken. Do you have any, you know, or any of the aspirants, you know, that fit who should become Nigeria's next president?
Oh, yes, I like that question. But the thing about it is that I'll be a delegate to that convention, most likely. And the thing about it is that, you know, with what we have in the PDP, we vote by state. I'll be voting for whoever my state agrees to support. So I won't be able to choose any candidate at this point in time. We now have a political leader. To see it, I have actually analyzed the front runners. But to me, those are...
I don't know how it works, Ken. I'm sorry I'm butting in, but I don't know how it works because Kassim is also a political leader in his side of town in Nigeria, specifically. Is it a thing? Is it a thing that is it an anti-party, you know, comment to say this is who you think could be or should be your candidate?
No, but the thing about it is that I think it would be wrong for me to choose my candidate here because I'll eventually be voting in that convention. And when I vote in that convention, I will vote alongside what will be agreed by my state. That is not to say that I do not have my choice or I would not be able to argue we will definitely see. It will not be like robots that will be directed to say, just go and vote for this person, I'll go and vote for that person. My governor is such a person that will definitely debate it with us. He'll be able to tell us that, look, this is who I want to believe in. If he doesn't phrase that in the ring, funny enough. But I'm just trying to say that those I see as the front runners on the South, I'll be voting alongside the South, I know most likely, which will be between Payozagi, Peter Obi, Nyesom Wike, and Udom. I think those are the front runners. Every other person, I don't want to use the word pretender as they try to say they're pretenders, but these are the front runners who are the serious people that actually believe in the fact that we can make a change. And
so can since well you're keeping that for now, would the age because Kassim is so spot on the age and health status of who becomes Nigeria's next president. Does that also resonate with you?
Oh, yeah, it resonates with me. The fact about it is that, well, he's Article 77. What of Joe Biden? But, they actually have to do a cognitive test for Joe Biden. And I don't think Atiku has shown that he needs to go through a cognitive test. So at this point, I don't think he wants to qualify Atiku on the basis of his age. He has not acted like one who is not sure of his environment, who is not sure of what he's saying. He has not acted like one who does not know where he's going to. Yes, he has looked like a serial runner. But don't forget that Buhari was also a serial runner. If you look at it too, and today Buhari has been the president for 8 years. If Buhari didn't take that last shot, he was not encouraged by the likes of El Rufai, like he said, to take that last shot at the presidency. He might not have become the president. So now that they have thrown the ticket open, I don't think at this point, Kassim is a good friend of mine. We keep attacking the
and one more thing here, Ken, before I go to Kassim. Now, you just mentioned the United States President Joe Biden and talk about the age, but some again have also argued that it is why the U.S. economy is going down. Just yesterday, the inflation accelerated to 8.5% in March in the U.S. That's a new 4-decade high as surging energy prices and higher food costs hit consumers. For some, they still think it's just about his age.
Well, I don't think it's a thing about age. It's a thing about the fact that the Democratic Party in America was already driven and finding themselves to where they have found themselves. First of all, look at the Keystone project that was the first executive appeal was signed by Joe Biden. He signed it as it's one of the reasons why that is having the advantage they're having in taking on the Ukrainian war. He had no reason to cancel the Keystone project. America was already independent in terms of energy. So I don't think it has to do with it. It has to do with the policy of the Democratic Party, if you ask me. They were already doomed to go on the 8.5% margin you have found in terms of inflation. And I dare say that the misery index in America will increase for the first time in maybe like 40 years. That is the thing about the policy of a party, and I don't think it has to do with age. Well, there again, you will also agree with me that the advisors and those who are around you are taking advantage of his age, maybe to pull the strings behind. That's my take.
Okay, then, Ken, thanks. Well, let's jump over now to Kassim, and this is straight off, Kassim. A competent... Yeah, okay, you want to react to that? Go ahead, then.
Yes, please. You see, let me help Ken Okolugbo. He's my good friend. Ken is not going to speak different from what he has spoken. He's running an election. He needs to be on the ballot. I want him because he's a solid mind. He's a brilliant, intelligent young man. He's very articulate. He understands the issues. He will be a good representation to his people in Delta State. But the age of an average American is not the same age of an average Nigerian. When you look at our social-political and economic milieu,
okay.
When you look at our social-political milieu, the environment under which we grow up, the sufferings, the crises, and all of that, you are talking about age in the functional system, that even a mannequin can be plugged into the system and the system will be functioning. And we are talking about age in a dysfunctional system like we have in Nigeria. And you are telling me it's not a factor. No, it is a factor. You see, a lot of things are wrong in this part of the world. The kind of challenges that we are confronted with are not the same challenges that Americans are confronted with. Americans are talking about 8% inflation rate and they are already crying. We are already 23% inflation rate. And our debt profile keep rising, you know. And so we are borrowing. We are not producing as such. This is a consuming nation. America produces. Our electricity is grounded. Our power is nothing to write home about. Our infrastructure, our rail lines are facing attack, insecurity every day. So you cannot compare someone from an American point of view to a Nigerian. With all the crises we're having, we need a vibrant, upwardly mobile young minds. You can't run away from that.
And so, Kassim, a competent candidate versus a candidate brought forward by the virtue of a zone, which would you prefer?
Sulai, this question is needless. Because in every local government in Nigeria, you can produce at least 10 presidential candidates. 10. Every local government in Nigeria. So how do you test a man's competence? It's only until he gets to the point of duty. In 2015, those who marketed General Buhari to us told us, oh, he's going to turn Nigeria into an El Dorado. We never knew that he was this incompetent. We never knew that he was this lazy in terms of dispensing with responsibilities as provided for in Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic. So don't preach competence to me, because the only reason why I will even use competence is those governors who have performed. Nyesom Wike has converted Rivers State to construction site. That to me is competence. He has stabilized security in Rivers State. He went into the forest to chase out oil bunkerers. That is leadership. I have not heard that in all his budget that he's borrowing, I have not heard Rivers State borrowing money, for execution of projects. And he has been building multi-billion naira projects in different sectors of the state economy. So that to me is a good reference point. Anybody who is talking about experience or competence, I will tell you, show me your profile where you are coming from. But of course, like I said, they will always keep talking about the experience. Which experience are they talking? Just like in the case of Elijah Atiku Abubakar, what experience are they talking about? He has never led a state government. He has never had an approving position, approving authority. He has never been an approving authority. When he was vice president, he was under the appendage of General Olusegun Obasanjo. So it's whatever they give to him. He has never run an executive office as the chairman of a local government or governor of a state. So what are they talking about? We just get carried away by all these razzmatazz, say, oh, is that. What has he done? What exactly, where is the experience coming from?
So let's close by asking what you think. How do you envisage your primaries will go?
Well, like I keep saying, and I'll keep repeating this, Sulaiman, I'm a man driven by my convictions. Even if I'm the last man standing, I will continue to insist on it. With the delicate nature of Nigeria today, with the polarization, with the absence of national conversation, absence of national dialogue, absence of national harmony, we cannot afford, to toy with the issue of zoning. The zoning is one function that will help to stabilize the polity and also give opportunity to whoever emerges in 2023 to be able to deliver on his campaign promises. If you don't get your politics right, you will not get your governance structure right. People must get to know this. If you are not stable, if you are not politically stable, you cannot attract foreign investment. You cannot even deliver on your promises. So, looking forward to 2023, I want to see a situation where the PDP in its wisdom will sit back and cede the position to the South. They shouldn't try to be clever by half. If they do that, if the APC, if the PDP takes a presidential candidate from the North, I, Kassim Afegbua, I have said it before, I'm repeating it again, I will openly work for APC if they choose a candidate from the South. I am not blinded. I've read a lot of literatures on democracy in plural societies. You must balance all the factors, all the sentiments, all the algorithms at the religious point of view, at the politics point of view. If you don't balance them, then the delicate logic you are sitting on we capitulate. And God forbid, even 2023, if we are not careful, it may not even come to light.
And quickly, closing moments here with you, Ken. Let us in quickly, if you don't mind, how it's going with your constituents. We know you're running for the next election. Well, looks like we lost the connection to Ken Okolugbo. At this point,
that's for me.
Oh, Ken, yes, that was from you for you specifically. I wanted you to close the show for us.
Okay, yes, a quick one. Kassim seems to want to attack so much on the issue of the age. I would not want him to do so much.
No, Ken, I was asking specifically if you can do this in 30 seconds. You're running for the next election. You're going into...
I'm running for the House of Representatives, and we have our primaries on the 12th of May. Just like you're speaking to me, I'm in Delta State, and we are we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's and trying to be able to get our 3 adult delegates for the delegate elections I'll be holding on the 23rd of this month. After that, we'll now know exactly the amount of delegates we're going to have, which will be about 390 delegates. So the winning number will be 200. So I'm hoping that I'll get 220 to 250.
All right, Ken, we're looking forward to having you on the program, and so that we can specifically have a robust conversation here on the square on meeting the candidates when that time comes. Kassim, Afegbua, Ken Okolugbo, both of you have been such nice company. Many thanks for being on the square. I'm Sulaiman. See you again.